So if you're talking about a bacteria as simple as E. coli, which is residing in our gut, it doubles every 19 minutes. So you culture it in the morning and in the evening, your experiment is over. If you're talking about something which is very slow growing, it totally depends upon the kind of experimental procedures you have. There have been instances where I myself have worked 5 days without any break. And this is where actually your lab mates support come in, because obviously for 5 days continuously, you cannot work in the lab. So this is where we all pitch in. Whosoever's experiments are coming up, we all pitch in and pull into, because at times samples have to be collected on an every hourly basis, continuously for 4 to 5 hours.
Welcome everybody to Career Talks with Mentoria. Thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us today. The mission of all of these conversations, these talk shows, these webinars are to ensure that each and every one of you can make informed decisions, visualize your future worlds, understand exactly how different kinds of careers work, the good, the bad, as well as the ugly, and then choose the right path for yourselves. Our passion is to help you discover yours, and that's one of the objectives of these webinars. Today, we're going to have an incredible conversation on the world of biotechnology and building a career in it. And we have with us an extremely special guest. Please welcome Dr. Anupama Awasthi. She has a PhD in biotechnology and has taught thousands of students over the years, and recently also chose to elevate her expertise even further by becoming a career coach and a career counselor. Dr. Anupama has not only been transforming the lives of budding biotechnologists, but also guiding Mentoria's users towards the careers that they will enjoy and excel at. Today, she's going to help us understand the world of biotechnology better and tell us all about how to build a career in it. Welcome, Dr. Anupama, and thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Nikhar. I'm very pleased to be over here talking to students about a field, biotechnology, which post-pandemic has attained much more relevance. And we look at the bioeconomy, 14% growth last year. So a lot of job options, a lot of research, even the foreign collaborations, the collaborative research, the production is coming to India. So this is the time where this is the right time to get into this field. And thank you so much, Nikhar. And Mentoria is doing a very good job hosting this series of webinar, because this is where, a lot of questions are there, a lot of doubts, a lot of whether we can do it or not. Are we made for it? What are the challenges? Is there a scope in India, or we have to move abroad? I mean, these are the questions which are always there in the minds of students.
Absolutely.
And amazing. I'm very happy to be here. Yes, Nikhar. Yeah. So I call myself a student. I was a student, I am a student, and I will be a student for the simple reason that every day a new technology is coming up, every day a new drug is being launched, every day a new technique or anything, new instrumentation is coming up. So to keep up the pace with this, it's pertinent that we study, and that's why I say I'm a student of biotechnology. I'm a teacher and a researcher, and my research area is in the field of agri and medical biotechnology. And these are the areas where these are the courses that I have been teaching also since last 25 years. I've been working as an assistant professor at Amity University. In between, I have also taught in a medical college for 4 years. So that's how the medical field came into. I did my MPhil in biotechnology, followed by PhD in biotechnology. And yes, I have been guiding a lot of students. I've been mentoring a lot of students because I'm also a part of the CRC, the Corporate Resource Center of my university. So basically looking after the student progression in terms of corporate jobs or R&D jobs or higher education, India, abroad, yes. I have a research lab where I have a few UG, PG and 2 PhD students also currently enrolled under me. Okay. So life. So life, it's an interdisciplinary science. totally interdisciplinary. So there are a lot of entry points and a lot of exit points. Basically, anybody can enter into the field of biotechnology. It's a teamwork where you will require a physicist, you will require a biologist, you will require a genetics person, you will require a biochemist, microbiologist, a chemist also in terms of biomaterials. And then obviously, as you move forward, specializations also. So that's why I said a lot of entry and exit points. A basic degree in biotechnology, there are certain core subjects which anyhow, when you're talking about life, so we are talking about plants, we are talking about animals, we are talking about microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, or even humans for that matter. Now, the basic unit of life is same in all organisms. It's a cell. Obviously, a plant cell will be different from an animal cell, a neuron, a nerve cell would be different from, say, a skin cell for that matter. But all cells will have a nucleus, which contains the nuclear material, DNA, RNA, which is deciding how the cell should be functioning. Each cell will have certain proteins, it will have its own metabolism. So the core of biotechnology will still is based upon your cell biology, your biochemistry, your microbiology, your molecular biology. Then there is a progression. So when we study the basics, then we move further. For example, when we study the molecular biology, then the next step would be now to deep dive into see how can we manipulate the nucleic acids or the DNA within our body. So then we move on to genetic engineering. Then we study these genes on a much larger scale, so it becomes genomics. Then we see the interaction between genes and proteins, so it becomes genomics and proteomics. Then we start creating life like synthetic biology. So then that's another level. So that is just one aspect of progression that I discussed. There can be multiple aspects. Like you can go into antibiotics production, or you can go into tissue engineering, where we are talking about skin implants, skin grafting. These things are also a part of it. So there are multiple things depending upon what is your area. Like some of the students are very clear, they want to work only in the field of agriculture or precision agriculture or agricultural biotechnology. Some are very clear, especially those who have an interest in like they gave medical entrance examinations, and now they want to pursue something related to a medical field. So they would go into something like a regenerative medicine or a tissue engineering, where you can actually cultivate the organs outside, look at the transplantation, kidney transplants, liver transplants. So that can be one. Then look, improving the dairy animals, for example, increase, like we are talking about A2A cows now. Now they have a particular milk composition which is very similar to the human milk. Actually, the cow milk is not supposed to be, I mean, it's closest to the human milk, but it is not exactly having the same protein configuration. So there are certain special things which can be done to make it more similar to human milk. So improving the crop yield, improving the dairy yield, or even aquaculture, the drug discovery. And now another thing which is coming up is industrial enzymes. Biofuels is again picking up, because UN SDG goals are very, very important for sustainable development. So now the government of India has mandated that you need to add some amount of bioethanol to the fuels, and a lot of biofuels and algae as a source of biofuels is also coming up. That is one progression. Production of antibiotics is another stream where we can move into the field of biotechnology. So the possibilities are actually immense. Absolutely, you can get into anything. Okay, so your day in your life would be totally decided upon the kind of life that you are working with. So if you're talking about a bacteria as simple as E. coli, which is residing in our gut, it doubles every 19 minutes. So you culture it in the morning, and in the evening your experiment is over. If you're talking about something which is very slow growing, it totally depends upon the kind of experimental procedures you have. There have been instances where I myself have worked 5 days without any break. And this is where actually your lab mates support come in, because obviously for 5 days continuously, you cannot work in the lab. So this is where we all pitch in. Whosoever's experiments are coming up, we all pitch in and pool into, because at times samples have to be collected on an every hourly basis, continuously for 4 to 5 hours. So there's a lot of wet lab. We call it as wet lab because that is actually hands-on experimentation that is required. So within the lab, working is very, very important, because unless and until you do that, you don't have the skill and competency actually to move further in this. Having said that, there is another thing. Bioinformatics is another field which is coming up, where a lot of computer-based analysis can be done. But then again, also ultimately that also needs to be validated in a wet lab. So ultimately, it all boils down to working hands-on with sophisticated instrumentation. Like many of the processes are now automated. So PCR, you don't have to actually, you just program the machine. But before that, the RNA isolation, for example, in COVID pandemic time, we all went for RT-PCR tests. So the RNA isolation has to be done manually. But beyond that, now the process will be totally automated and the results would be made available. But hands-on approach definitely is there. You need to design your work, plan your experiments in a very planned manner actually, because otherwise the results would not be the desirable one.
Got it. So what I'm understanding from what you're saying is, depending on which subspecialization you choose, right, and which institution you're working with, which organization you're working with, and what their prerogative is. If you're working creating antibiotics, you're obviously doing something very, very different. But if you're working in tissue regeneration, you're doing something different. But what you're going to be doing is thinking of experiments, thinking of different kinds of research projects, collecting, determining your experimentation procedure, and then going ahead in the lab and carrying out that experimental procedure to publish whatever research that you get.
So communication, both oral and written, is also very, very important in this field. Planning and execution is one thing. You need to be good with your hands. You need to be very good in your planning also. So before the planning, a lot of reading has to be there, because you cannot just plan your experiment. You have to design your experiment. So a lot of reading will go into that. A lot of research will go into that to design a particular set of experiments. So you read a lot of journals, you read a lot of scientific papers and review articles and come to that. Execution is of course very important in a planned manner, but then communicating your results. Because if you have done a research and just kept it to yourself, it doesn't make any sense. So it has to be communicated. It has to be communicated in the form of oral poster or paper presentations, or sent as a written communication to various journals. And if it is an innovative idea, there is another thing which is there. If it is patentable, it's an innovative idea, then you do also go in for that kind of intellectual property registration and those also. So that is also, in fact, what we tell is first get yourself a patent done, then publish, because the moment you publish it, it's in the public. So you're not able to protect your research or protect your idea. Yeah, the first thing is how to choose whether you want biotech or any other field as a graduation, post 12, that is what you're asking. See, usually what happens is that when we are studying biology in +2, somehow we develop some kind of an inclination, and we also realize that we are not looking at the classical aspect, not looking at the taxonomic classification of plants and animals or just anatomy and physiology. We are looking beyond that. So when we start integrating things, when we are able to, move with the metabolism, move with the biochemistry, move with the proteins, and we are interested or intrigued by the developments that are taking place in this field, because so many things happen on a weekly basis in this field. So if these things are interest us, for example, even a simple thing, again, I always go back to COVID, because this is something very relatable, very recent, which all of us have, even this generation has also faced. So there were a lot of biomarkers which were being, tested to check for the severity of the. So there has to be a basis for choosing those biomarkers to decide whether the steroids should be given or not, or whether the person requires oxygen support, or the person needs hospitalization or ICU, or how to discharge. Now, how do you, if somebody is already faced that, this generation has already faced that. So if they are interested, they are intrigued by these things, then this is the field where you have to be. It depends upon, when you're doing a graduation, you are exposed to almost all subjects, but towards the end part of your graduation, you start getting the elective subjects. Now, you have the base knowledge. Based on that, you start choosing the electives. So when you start choosing the electives, you start developing, okay, I want to work only with DNA. This is something. or I don't like working with my hands in the lab. I want to do something with a computer, so let me move or shift to bioinformatics. So these things will come as you move from your first year to your second year to your third year, as you move through the core courses, which are compulsory courses, and then you start moving towards specialization. And of course, lot of it all depends upon the kind of infrastructure your college or university is providing, the kind of not only infrastructure in terms of labs, but the kind of faculty. Of course, faculties are always a great mentor. So we are always inspired by, if there is a good faculty, we tend to, want to work in that area only. And the kind of organizations or universities, like for example, my university, we encourage the students to join some or the other faculty in their research lab. So they start approaching from second or third year onwards. For a 4-year program, they start approaching from third year and they get associated. So that is the time that they are getting exposed to, and then they decide whether they want to go for jobs or they want to go for higher education, or some of them even actually, go for management, because they realize that no, I want to go into the project management now. Let me start managing things rather than doing things on my own. So this is the time actually you discover when you are actually studying during your graduation. That depends upon what you want to do. Like suppose if somebody wants to go into R&D, whether it's an industry, a corporate, if it's a R&D of a industry or a R&D of a institution, a PhD would be definitely a big yes. But if you are looking only at, for example, a quality control, quality assurance, or production, even a master's is sufficient. So that again would depend upon, there are some students who are so focused about research that they want to only study and actually work hands-on. So for them, if you want to go into R&D, definitely a PhD would be an advantage.
But masters is bare minimum. You have to get a master's.
See, with a BTech degree, if you are going into something which is again into biohealthcare or pharma segment or business development, because these are also the job roles which are available for a BTech student, so a master's may or may not be required. In fact, what I have observed is the placements are best for a BTech student. The BSc students generally go for masters. BTech students, they generally go for a job, work for 1 or 2 years, and then decide whether they want to further pursue for the masters. So they go for MTech or masters, MS abroad, or they even move to management also. So because not everybody, see, R&D opportunities will not be very high. And then of course PhD, and PhD is a very time consuming process. Let's be very clear about it. If it's a good institute, 6 years for a PhD is bare minimum. And then qualifying for that entrance and then giving 6 years of a life, not many people would. There are things, like family responsibilities, and for these things also come up. So not many people would be, and initially the placement that is offered for R&D sector, though of course after 4 to 5 years it is quite decent, quite good in fact. But the initial, if you just go immediately, after your MSc into any kind of R&D or a core company, the remuneration is not very high. Like even for that matter, even Biocon is not a very good pay master as compared to, I would say, a GDRC, which takes 25 to 30 of our students every year. There is a whole floor dedicated to our students over there. So, but then that's your calling. If you are interested in research, you will go to Biocon, because that is where 2 years you will not worry about the money. But this is where, actually you are working in a core area of biotechnology, and then the world is your opportunity then. It opens up. One good thing that has come up since last year is the NEP, National Education Policy, which has now mandated a 4-year BSc. Earlier, we had an issue that those BSc students, they could not go for their masters abroad because 12 plus 4 was not being met. So a BTech student could go very easily, but not a BSc student. So for 1 year, they would be going to UK or doing some kind of a program over here. And the interdisciplinary nature of the BSc program now under NEP is in sync with biotech, because biotech itself is interdisciplinary. So you have a D1, D2, D3, you can D3, like domain 1, domain 2, domain 3. So you can choose one subject of life sciences, one for animal sciences, one for bioinformatics, and you can actually make your own combination. And that is good. And plus 4 years of BSc means your master's is only of 1 year. So that advantage also. So now from I think another 2 years down the line, we should not be having that discrimination of BSc and BTech students. Another thing which I read recently was that BTech also, the AICTE has said that you need not be having a PCM background only for studying the tech. Because see, food tech, agriculture tech, biotech, these are all related subjects, and people from life sciences are also getting integrated into this area. Now, if you very rigidly put as PCM as the eligibility criteria, then you are missing out on a lot of students and a lot of opportunities for those students. So now even AICTE is not saying that PCM marks. They have given actually a list of about 13 or 15 subjects, and 3 of those have to be there for admission criteria, eligibility criteria. It works both ways. So if you have done your BSc, then I would recommend in that flow only do your masters. Because if you look at the program content of science and tech is already very application oriented. So they are already industry ready. They can move. But the science is more basic and applied sciences, not tech per se, not that much of tech. So there some kind of challenges might come, which I don't think that, I will not say that you cannot overcome those challenges, but definitely, with a science, it's a very smooth progression, BSc, MSc, and then moving. With a tech, actually, you can take the liberty of working for 2 to 3 years and then come back to your specialization.
So, if a person is pursuing their BSc, you'd recommend that they complete their MSc to become more industry ready and then get into work.
BSc program as such is not very industry ready because they're not very tech oriented. The courses are not very tech oriented.
Got it. And with BTech, a person can get into a job immediately after. And if they feel the need for further education to enhance their growth and career opportunities, then they can do a master's.
See, ultimately, they will all come and do the master's for the simple reason that at some point of time, they will move from a lower position to a managerial position. And any organization, they look for a management qualification at the project manager level. Whether it is IT or biotech, the same holds true for all organizations. So invariably, after 4 to 5 years, they will realize that there is a stagnation. I need to skill it up. So they will probably go for some kind of an executive MBA if they want to continue in that domain, because there is a limitation after 4 to 5 years. If you are working if you are into a corporate kind of thing. If it is an R&D, then there is no issue, because then you have a lot of exchange program, because many of your partners are based abroad. So you go over there, learn new techniques, bring them to India, try to develop a prototype within India in these conditions, test, and then launch it, run the clinical trials and launch it in India. I think at a graduation level, India is good enough. Post-graduation, if suppose you're doing a master's, and if it is from a premier institute, or even like doing a PhD in terms of CSIR labs or ICER or IISc, these are the premier institutions. So once you get in there, of course, it takes a long time to do PhD, but then these are the places from where a lot of research, a lot of collaborative research with foreign partners is also being conducted. So definitely, if that kind of an institute plus the kind of fellowships that are offered through UGC NET examination, that is also pretty decent. Having said that, yes, some amount of foreign exposure, I think, is necessary. It's necessary at what stage? That can be looked into, depending upon the kind of circumstances, the kind of courses. I mean, there are a lot of things which actually go into it. What kind of courses would be required, and return on investments, and those things can be then looked into. But yes, obviously, it broadens your mind. It opens your horizon when you go out for some study. There is DY Patil for those who are in and around Mumbai. DY Patil is doing some amazing work, and they have a hospital collaboration. Now, the problem is the good thing is that the moment you are associated with a hospital, a lot of data and a lot of samples are made available for your research. So their research is very strong. in that term. So usually we always try to look at a university which is associated with a hospital for a better research. Then there are a lot of universities which come under the ambit of this DBT it conducts the All India Entrance Examination. So for masters, that is something which is very good, because these are all, they are audited by DBT. Their program is following a particular structure, so they're not missing out on. And then, of course, there are special thrust areas. For example, if you talk about a biotech program of Goa University, then the thrust area is this aquatic or marine microbiology, to be precise. So that's how, there are clusters, there are thrust areas of each university. So again, depending upon your interest, you can choose. Abroad, there are immense courses. UK, for once, regenerative medicine and all, a lot of students go for the UK because masters, because their master is for 1 year, and then they get about 2 to 3 years to stay over there. Also, the cost is not as high as US, but then US, it comes with a STEM degree, so you get a 3-year OPT, which is again actually balances out your ROI. Those who are looking for a PRship, they are trying for Canada. So we have some amazing McGill and some other universities which are running very, and these are all again interdisciplinary. So again, like for neurosciences, maybe France would be good. For something else, Canada may be good. For food, even in fact, like for food, New Zealand is doing amazing work. So if you're talking about food biotech, New Zealand is the place to go. So
you're saying different forms of research are progressing at different rates in different countries, yes, and therefore it's important to understand what kind of super specialization or research you want to do and find out which country has the most progressive research and technology in terms of it, and then choose that.
Exactly, because whenever my students also trying out for PhD program, I first ask them what area you want to work in. Then look for the scientists all over the world, the top scientists, get their emails and start sending your CV to them, asking for is there any place or position vacant in their lab, because PhD positions are generally on recommendation and on personal applications. So that's what this is. Some of them are very clear. We want to work only on neurosciences. Fine, get list of 100 professors all over the world who are doing amazing work in neurosciences. We will put your CV in such a way, but before that, yes, before you apply to them, you must show within your CV some substantial interest in that area, in terms of maybe even not even doing a research, but maybe writing a review article on that. So that kind of interest has to be substantiated in your CV somehow, a review paper or an internship, a suitable internship, and then the scholarships come by then if that kind of any time after first year. Just leave aside the first year, because that is the first time you are being exposed to the core subjects and the basics. Any time after that, I tell all summer breaks between the academic years, do not waste. Do not waste. So the moment you finish your first year, look for internships. There are many internship providers who have mushroomed, who are also actually giving online internships. So please do your research. They are charging, but look at the quality of work they are doing. Again, it depends upon the student also, because I've seen many organizations, they are charging, but the students who are interested, who are genuinely interested, they come up with a publication also. Even though the organization may not be that well reputed, but if you show your interest, if you are focused, and you keep pestering your internship mentor, I want to really do something, give me any job, any kind of exposure. It does lead to publication even at the level of undergrad students. So when they're applying for masters, these publications actually help. So these organizations, usually the college, because these internships are also a part of curriculum. Across all universities now, it is mandatory. These internships are mandatory. The UGC says it, AICTE says it. So the college has a framework where they are facilitating these processes. So we have we have a list of these organizations. These organizations can be pharma companies. They can be like my students are going to Dabur. Of course, there is a selection process. They can be environmental sciences or water technology based companies. They can be food based companies, for example, Mother Dairy and Britannia. They can be breweries, because lots of yeast and alcohol manufacturing microorganisms are cultured over there. So a lot of this is there. There are a lot of market research companies also. So if the students, they don't want to actually do a wet lab work, this is also a sector which is coming up very fast as a market research, and I'm seeing a lot of good placements for my BTech students, because during the BTech program they already study Python and R and big data. And what happens is now, we know in India, the cost of an employee is much less. A lot of this data is being sent to India for analysis. So Bangalore, Hyderabad, these are the places where, about 10 to 12 people team is set up, and they are getting the inputs from these countries, and the analysis work, the research part, the analytics is being done in India. And a fresh graduate, a BTech graduate, they take at around 50,000 or 60,000 per month, which is good enough for a BTech student, a fresh graduate, and it works out very cheap for them also. So the students do an internship in these organizations also. So across, actually, and they can go to CSR labs. In fact, CSR labs have also started a very robust internship program. So every year they ask for there is an advertisement which comes. In response to that, you apply. DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, they also conduct internships. Wildlife Institute of India is conducting internships. ICFRE, which is about the forestry management and all, so tissue culture. So it's private, government, universities, even Delhi University Incubation Center takes some students for internship over there. So you have to be very vigilant about the kind of opportunities that are being circulated, and the CRC is supposed to do that job for them. So anytime we come across an opportunity, and we have a list of companies and list of organizations, so we give it to the students, then it's up to them whether it interests them, so they apply. Ultimately, the selection has to be that process has to be handled by the student. But yes, that letter of intent the organization provides. It's kind of a bona fide student of this university has to do a mandatorily so many credit or so many weeks of internship. These kind of support services are provided by the university. One thing that we realize is the soft skills to crack an interview, because you might be a very good student academically, but when it comes to facing a panel, we find it as a challenge. Generally, the science students are more academic oriented. This happens. So that is one aspect. Second is the skills and the competency set keeps changing. It keeps changing because pre-pandemic it was something else. Now it is something else altogether. So some amount of computer literacy in terms of programming languages, in terms of analytics is must, because even when you're conducting your own research, you need to have a good background of statistics to analyze that data, because your research is going to generate a data. Every time you cannot keep running around people ki mera data analyze kar do, that doesn't work. You should be able to analyze your data. And then again, most of the techniques now, the new techniques like microarray and next generation sequencing and all, they are automated procedures. They require programming and they require data analysis. So you need to be skilled or trained in this. NGS was never there when we were studying. So NGS came in last 10 years. So you have to always, stay in touch with what is going around. So you cannot be complacent about it, that I have learned these techniques today. They might not be there tomorrow. We have a 3D printing and 3D bioprinting now. So the fully automated machines doing that. So fabrication, 3D printing is there now. So you don't have to actually fabricate anything. You just have to program it. I mean, that's what is required. So because there's so much of dynamism which is required in this field, whatever techniques or skills or whatever we learn today, we have to update it on a very, very, very periodic basis. And that is why I said I am always a student, because every day there is a new thing. A synthetic egg has been created for a mice recently, last week. So if I don't study about that, if I don't read about it, how will I discuss that in front of the student? LinkedIn is one. LinkedIn, definitely yes. If you put the right skill sets like NGS or microarray or data analysis and all, the kind of feeds, the pop-ups that keep coming as a recommendation, they are almost matching, almost matching. And yes, coming to that, yes, a lot of certifications are required. Like for example, Merck is conducting a lot of high-end workshops on almost every 15 days they are conducting. Not very expensive, say about 4,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 depending upon. And they have a research facility in Bangalore, and they have collaborated with InTech Chandigarh. So two places they are conducting these workshops, and a lot of students are going in for these certifications. So all the high-end techniques that I'm talking about, like next generation sequencing or data analysis and all, they can actually go and do hands-on over there. So yes, Merck is doing. Similarly, Pine Biotech has recently, because I know about Pine Biotech because that has come into a collaboration with our university, so they are also doing some kind of, but then that is more of a bioinformatics-based internship. So there they handhold you, they give you some live projects where you can actually do the analysis, the bioinformatics analysis, and do that. There are some other organizations in Gujarat also which are now acting as a facilitator for internship. In fact, a lot of shops kind of things have also opened up, so one has to be very careful in choosing the place from where you're doing the internship. Because I've seen there are cases where it's just a one-room setup with some very 2 or 3 basic equipment, and they claim that they provide internship. So please visit the facility before you decide on choosing the place. Okay, so all the general skills and competencies like soft skills, writing, communication, of course, that goes without saying. Specific skills in terms of data analysis, biological data analysis, statistics will definitely be a big asset to your resume. Then even NGS and microarray. These are two things again which also require a lot of analysis. And if you have done that, or any kind of like LCMS is actually used for protein analysis. So LCMS data analysis, or even regenerative medicine, those hands-on techniques working on cell line models, for example. Like traditionally what we have learned when I was studying was we were working with animal cell lines or a human cell line. But now even the 3D models are available. For example, a 3D model of skin is available. So now when you look at any cosmetic product, it has to be tested on skin, but it is very clearly written not tested on animals, which is essentially tested on a 3D model of skin, because just a simple 2D model will not do, because skin has got so many layers, So if you want to study the toxicity in terms of any kind of product that you are applying on your skin, so toxicity assays have to be done. So there are 3D models of skin which are commercially available. So those skills, working with a cell line, working in the field of hands-on experience in terms of plant or animal cell culture, these are the skill sets which really go a long way. If you have worked with a PCR machine, that is again a very big skill set, because most of the analysis ultimately will boil down to the nucleic acid level. So a hands-on experience of PCR is also another. Otherwise, other techniques are all routine techniques, gel electrophoresis and all. Those are routine which are done, but like PCR, microarray, animal cell culture, these are the things if you have worked with even a lab setup fermenter, a 1 liter fermenter is also very good. A fully automated fermenter, if you get your hands on to work with or try it out, that's also a very good experience, I would say. Whatever path you take, 10 years, all of you are going to reach the same level. This is what I always tell the students. For some, it can be a log curve. For some, it can be a lag followed by log. For some, it can be a straight line. So ultimately, if you are persistent and consistent, you will reach the same place in 10 years.
And what is that place? Like, how does my work keep changing and growing with time?
Yeah. So suppose if you have gone into an R&D immediately after your post-graduation. So initially, what you're doing is a very routine kind of a job, trying to run an assay for a drug development platform. But then over a period of time, you become a part of a larger strategy across the globe. So you are coordinating with a lot of your partners and then devising. So some part of the work would be done under your supervision in India, in your lab. Other parts may be done there. There are multi-country projects that are being done. So these kind of things, you slowly you become a part of it. Similarly, if you're going into even a business development for a pharma company or a diagnostic company or any kind of biotech product company also, over a period of time, the strategy to plan a particular new product, how to launch a new product, what is the customer feedback, what is the market research which is saying how the product quality can be improved, these can be done. If we're talking in terms of regulatory, so obviously now ISO certifications are required for this. And if you're into regulatory, then you become an auditor. So you may even go for ISO 14,000 certification and you can become an environmental auditor. Or you can become a food safety inspector, and then again your regime in terms of quality testing or regulatory can expand. So like this, over a period of time, your verticals in these the verticals within that vertical, a lot of new products or new services can be added up. It's very surprising how BTech student gets more money than the MTech student. Initially, I'm saying initially, because our MTech student is already a MTech biotech, so obviously going into a core company, not going into a non-core company. So core companies, initially it is going to be low, but once 2 to 3 years, if you have established yourself, then there is. So BSc students placement, we are not very, that's not a very rosy picture as of now. MSc students do good. So if it's a core company, anything between 25,000 to 70,000 is what at least my university is offering. For a BTech student, because they have a core programming skills also embedded within their program, which we realize that our BSc programs are missing and our master students also are missing. So we have tried to improve our curriculum and included those skills also. So our BTech students typically if it's a non-core company, it can be from 45,000 to 80,000 per month. They can easily get. And within 2 to 3 years, I've seen that they start earning, in fact, 2 to 3 times what we earn at this stage. So, so that's totally, but then, you have to choose. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Byju's comes every year to my university. But the kind of job role that they have, money is there, a lot of money is there, but either the student stays there for 2 to 3 months or 2 to 3 years. बीच का कोई सीन नहीं होता उसमें. या तो in 2 to 3 months they will be so fed up of that kind of job, the job role, and they will leave and say no, we want to do something different. Or if they stay beyond that period, then it's an immense growth. Byju's is expanding at this moment. They are taking over a lot of Akash. They have taken over. So there is a lot of scope over there. So during the pandemic, e-content and content writing, these are the two things also. This industry has also really caught up in that.
But that's obviously away from the field of biotechnology, right?
Not really.
Byju's wouldn't need somebody in biotechnology.
No. They need.
And what would the reason?
See, Byju's has taken up Akash. So ultimately, what is Akash doing? Medical preparation. What is medical? Biotech. So see, basically the kind of knowledge base that these biotech students have. Why would a pharma company hire a biotech student? For the simple reason that why not a BBA student? Why a biotech student? For the simple reason that when you're talking to the doctors, when you're talking to the customers, the kind of knowledge base that is there, they can talk in more scientific terms, more academic or relatable terms. And that is the whole reason why a lot of students go into the pharma industry also. The lab work. It's quite intense. And if you are not into it, if you're not passionate about it, it becomes very difficult to sustain that. See, it's a very I will not say it's a totally academic subject. There are a lot of applications also, but the path is little difficult in terms of you're going for PhD. Nowhere can you do your PhD in less than 4 to 5 years. So 4 years bachelor's as per NEP plus 1 year master, that is 5 years, and another 5 years, 10 years gone. And after PhD again, then you have started applying for jobs. So that is something which is actually we are seeing a lot of students not going for PhD. They say nahi karna, itna time nahi lagana, utne mein we will we'll go to the application part now, use our knowledge of biotech and move towards the industry and do well, and they are doing well. Lab work is definitely a challenge because the microorganism will not decide, or the cell will not decide. It has its own way of dividing. So your experiments can be pretty challenging. So you need to be totally devoted and dedicated to it. Lot of them are actually taking up management programs. The clinicians, a lot of them are also doing specialized courses, for example, assisted reproductive technology. So because because of the stress and all, IVF is again a booming business. Stem cell, nobody talked about, keeping the cord blood, storing that, but now yes, even small cities also are now storing in anticipation. Genetic counseling and genetic testing for various disorders is also now coming up, and checking for the predicting whether you may or may not have a disease. Now that is called as whole genome sequencing. So till a few years back, the whole genome sequencing, this is very interesting, it used to cost around 80 to 85,000 rupees. And now very recently I came to know that there is a lab in Gurgaon which is ready to do it in 15,000 rupees also. And they give you, they look for those markers, the disease markers, and they say that yes, you can develop these diseases. And of course, you might not ever develop it. So again, there are a lot of pros and cons, and it's a very personal choice who wants to go for it or not. But then there are people who are using it. This industry grew, bioeconomy grew 14% during pandemic, because and it was totally based upon the diagnostics and the therapeutics. So new drugs, new vaccines, and the rapid diagnostic kits. The industry, so many startups they started, and so yes, pandemic has for the biotech students, yes, pandemic has been a boom. It has been a good thing. It is very much there. For example, artificial intelligence, like for example, you're going for cancer diagnostics. You have the radiological images that are available to you. Now, if you ask a radiologist to do it, he might miss out. So now we have AI-based, probability modeling. There are a lot of models which are available. So AI is being used for precision diagnostics. It is being used and very rampantly being used. AI is there, but AI is very well integrated, I would say. So AI will not take the role away. The radiologist will still be looking at the scan. There will be still a human involved. But yes, the errors can go down. Automation definitely is there. Now, when you give your blood sample for analysis, within 2 to 3 hours, a complete profile, biochemical profile is generated because it's a completely automated machine. So yes, automation is coming in, which is good, and that is because you can handle multiple samples in much short span of time. So we call them as high throughput technology. So a lot of analysis can be done. That is why I said the skill set that you need to be this analytics and these new techniques, you need to be very well versed, because this is where you will be differentiated amongst the other peer group when they are looking for jobs in placement. So for class 10th to 12th, it has to be at a very basic level. So you need to be interested in latest things. You need to be interested in proteins, in carbohydrates, in DNA, RNA, these things. As long as you are aware of it, this is where. But when you reach the graduation level, that is where you need to focus on what exactly within biotechnology. For a class 10 to 12, I will not say that you start looking for your niche area. Keep your base wide so that you can eventually venture into your area of specialization. Do not specialize at the graduation level. Keep it open. But when during your graduation, when you are actually exposed to those subjects, then start looking at what is my niche, what do I enjoy the most, whether it is humans, whether it is drugs, whether it is plants, animals, microorganisms, fermenter, or a computer. And then accordingly, you start building your skill set. For working professionals, as I said, there are a lot of entry points, a lot of exit points. Know your niche area, do get the best experience in terms of certifications and webinars and all. Keep updated, update your skills.
So are there any websites, any blogs, any podcasts, any people, anybody, anything that you'd recommend one follows or reads or goes
Okay, I will tell you one which I follow on Facebook. I find this guy very interesting. Just let me see. He's Hashim L. Gaili. Okay. And he is from a medical and health background, and he gives short videos, just about 3 to 4 minute videos on the latest things which are happening in this field, and very interesting way of presenting that video. And I'm actually following him on. Then I also follow some leaders of bioeconomy in terms of the LinkedIn connection. So that's what I do.
Got it. And any particular blogs or publications that you think one should be following or being adept with?
Current Science, and these are some of the journals. But then again, I think every newspaper once in a week they come with a science and tech page, special. Just going through that and going through for the school students and the college students, the education which comes once in a week. So they are the ones which are telling you about the recent opportunities which are in this field. So that will.
Got it. Super. I think I'm all set with my questions. Let's move to the audience's questions. But thank you so much for the absolutely incredible insights, Dr. Anupama.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. It was my pleasure entirely. I'm very passionate about biotechnology, so I can speak for hours on this subject actually.
Box one is from Sai, who asks, hi there, may I know biotechnology opportunities in relation to pharmacology?
Yeah. Because see, any kind of drug that is being developed, it has to go through various stages of test. You cannot test it on humans right away. So they need to be tested on cell lines, then animal model. Then there has to be a clinical trial where people need to be enlisted. So there is another thing which I missed out, clinical trials and clinical data, clinical research. So that is again, because how do you ensure that the new drug that you are being developing doesn't have any side effect, and is it really effective? The efficacy and the toxicity has to be assessed. So there is a whole set of procedure that has to be followed, and this cannot be done without a biotechnologist.
Got it. Super. So we've got Mridul who wants to ask a question. Mridul, I'm going to unmute you. You can feel free to ask your question.
Hi. Yeah, this is Father speaking here. Even we have two aspirants sitting here across Mridul and one of his, my neighbor who's Arni. Okay, both are in 10th now at this moment, and I have one question to Dr. Anupama. I'm looking out like if he or she needs to take bioinformatics during the specialization stage, what sort of a job role would they be doing in the so-called offices, because they have some sort of inclinations towards computers also. While I mentioned, I understand the wet side, it may be a little bit tough for certain students. So if they need to choose the bioinformatics side, what sort of job role would they have, and what sort of growth they will have? Because we are talking something about 2028 from now. By the time they finish their graduation and times like that. Second thing, Dr. Anupama, I was just going through the site, and it still reads that they need to take PCB because in your session I also understood it may not be like 10 subjects to be part of it as per the NEP policy. So I just wanted that clarity.
This I also read only recently, just few days, 3 days back only. So AICTE has come up that they need not be through PCM or PCB background. So at biotech being interdisciplinary science, let me tell you, sir, that for a BTech biotechnology, a science background is necessary. It can be a PCB or a PCM till now, but now of course even that may not be a requirement. You can have it from even an IT, maths and physics will also suffice in that case then. So that again will depend upon the kind of courses. So broadly, this is how they have put it. Coming to your question on bioinformatics, yes, I'll tell you. When you're talking about any, there are a lot of tools, there are a lot of softwares which are available. So suppose if we want to analyze the gene or the DNA, or we want to look at a structure of a protein. Suppose that protein is present in 3 different species. So we use a software, a bioinformatics software, which is called as homology modeling. So what happens is, suppose if you don't have that protein isolated from humans, but you have it from mice, fine. That structure is already available in our database, which is called as PDB, protein database. So we take that good resolution image from there, and we do a homology modeling looking at the genetic sequence of mice and human, and see how this protein will be different in, whether it will be exactly the same, because some proteins are highly conserved, so they're not different, or how it will be different in human. That is just a very minuscule of the things that is being done in bioinformatics. Another thing that is being done is docking. Now, what is docking is that suppose you're looking, you have certain target molecules which you think are probable drugs against a particular thing. For example, when you're talking about breast cancer, these are her receptors, Herceptin receptors. The drug binds to these receptors. Now, what if the person doesn't have those Herceptin receptors? So giving that line of drug to this particular individual, this is called as personalized medicine. So giving this drug to this individual is not going to do any good thing, because it doesn't have the receptor to bind to. The drug has to bind to the receptor and then move forward in that mode of action. So if that receptor itself is not there, this line of treatment will not work. So we need to think of an alternate. And I mean, this example, Nikhar, I give to almost everybody, Angelina Jolie Jones. And the students love this example. Now, she has a family history of breast cancer, and she double her negative. That means out of 3, 2 are not there. So that is a pretty aggressive form of cancer, if at all she develops that. So that is why she went for the only solution she thought was, before the cancer develops, let me remove. So she went for surgery. So these kind of informations, if they are made prior available, because you can't just start giving a chemotherapy. Chemotherapy comes with a lot of side effects. So these kind of interactions can be actually studied using bioinformatics.
Okay.
So that information is there, but as I said, bioinformatic information has to be validated in wet lab also at a later stage. But suppose if you have a library of, say, about 40,000 compounds, for example, NIO Goa has a marine chemicals, actually about 40,000. So you cannot manually, pick up one and test on a cell. That is not possible. So you do a rapid screening using bioinformatics, and then get the leads, the probable ones which might work well, and then you actually do a hands-on wet lab experiment on the leads. So the pipeline time is much reduced if you merge these two, the bioinformatics and the actual experimentation.
Ma'am, if I may ask you, it's BSc biotechnology plus ME. You can choose the bioinformatics, right?
You can actually see. That's why I said for graduation, because these children have never been exposed to all the nuances and the niche area of biotechnology in school, even if they take up biotechnology. So they really do not know. So let them explore, let them come out with it. This is what they would like to work on. So specialization can come later on. The base knowledge should be proper, complete. Then they can look for specialization.
Ma'am, thanks a lot. Was a very
Thank you so much. let's move on to our next question. Next up, we've got Sachin who wants to ask a question. Sachin, I've unmuted you. Please feel free to ask your question.
Thank you for it. Was a very informative session. But I have a few questions. Can you tell me which is a better path should I follow for biotech? Is it BSc biotech or BTech biotechnology?
That totally depends upon you want to go for research or basic and applied or tech based, because BTech program is more tech oriented. So that totally depends upon you, how you see yourself 4 years down the line. BSc is also 4 years now, and BTech is also 4 years. So if it's tech application oriented or basic and applied, that would be the differentiator in this case.
Okay. And is there any specific computer programming skill I have to pursue?
See, generally for biotech, we recommend Python. Python helps because a lot of data analysis can be done using it. If Python can be Python or R, because a lot of statistical analysis can also be done using R also. So if you can have, and you need not be a great coder per se, having a basic knowledge, because these codes are already available. You just have to attach your data to that. So these are very simple languages to learn. I'm not saying Java or C# or C++. Those are little demanding in terms of coding skills. But Python and R are quite user friendly. They can be.
And another question, which has better scope, microbiology or biotechnology?
See, when you do microbiology, you're just focusing yourself to microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, protozoan, parasites. But when you're talking about biotech, in microbiology also, you will be studying cell biology, microbiology, cell biology, biochemistry, molecular biology, but you will be only talking about the prokaryotes, not the eukaryotes. So biotechnology is on a much larger scale. So microbes are just a part of that. But then again, if you are very clear that you want to work in that field only with the microbes, microbiology, but if you're not so sure, take biotech, because then plants, animals, humans, and microbes all are available.
Well, thank you. Next up, we've got Simran who wants to ask a question. Simran, I've unmuted you. You can feel free to ask your question.
Hello, good morning. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am,
Yes,
actually, I wanted to ask that I am a postgraduate pass out in the pandemic time.
Yeah, so 2 years you never got the actual hands-on lab experience.
Yes,
I
ma'am,
read
right.
your question in the chat box. I was reading that. Yes, that's for the 2-year program. These 2 years have been really harsh, I would say. They never went to the college. They never got the experience, and probably the undergraduate was not in biotechnology. So that was something. So yes, so
So do you want to ask your question, Simran? I've just unmuted you again.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I am a BTech MTech postgraduate. So my 4 years were in college, and in my right before my dissertation, there was the lockdown. So I was not exposed properly to my dissertation master thesis as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go for R&D initially, but because of the pandemic scenario, there was a change of plans and I had to move to another job profile. But it is a core company itself.
Okay.
But now I'm facing some challenges in terms of increasing my skills and also in terms of the remuneration that I'm getting, because
core companies, that's a challenge.
Yes, ma'am. And also, ma'am, I was interning previously in one of the organizations, and I couldn't get a permanent role there just because I am not a PhD. So they required in particular PhDs only in that area.
Yeah.
So what should be the course of action since
Have
PhD?
you ever thought of appearing for CSR Net?
Yes, ma'am. I tried it twice. Couldn't get through that.
What about ICAR Net and DBT Net and ICMR Net?
Yes, ma'am. Last year I gave GATE and all the other competitive
And
exams.
are you aware that being MTech, you are aware for SRF ship also, because that is that is considered as, so if you can put in your work-ex as an R&D. You can apply for direct SRF-ship also, ICMR and DSC both.
Ma'am, will it be possible if I'm into a non-wet lab profile right now? It's been 1 year. Yes, it's been 1 year.
What about clinical data management, clinical clinical research, regulatory, IPR?
Ma'am, I have applied previously to those roles, but again,
skill
they
sets.
require.
Do you have the skill set? I mean, do you have those certificates, the IPR?
No, that is what the problem is. So my question was related to the certifications itself.
Yes, you will require a certification, because see, for clinical data management also ICRI conducts those certificate programs. So you need to do that, because without that, you might be knowing that thing, but what is the proof that you know that thing? That is that certificate.
So ma'am, is it that apart from this, is it that if I have to increase or change my, I mean, if I have to upgrade myself, so is there a necessary requirement that I have to go for a PGDM or MBA, because it requires a lot of time and money investment both?
That is not necessary that you need to only go for PGDM. That's what I'm saying. The 6-month certifications of ICRI are also good enough.
Okay.
So you can probably do that.
Okay. All right, ma'am. Thank you so much.
One of the things that I'll do, Simran, potentially is maybe connect you with Dr. Anupama. You guys can potentially chat and she can give you a list of these certifications, and you can then go ahead with them. We might also send you a list separately in conversation with Dr. Anupama. Yeah, would that be helpful?
Yes, that will be quite helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, next up we've got Olivia. This will be our last question for today. So Olivia, Ovia, I've unmuted you. Please feel free to ask your question.
Hi ma'am, thank you so much. This session has been really great. I'm right now in class 12, and till class 10 I'd taken up Java, so it was basic Java. So you mentioned that one of the challenges they face is with the computer coding and everything, right? So
it's not a challenge. I will not say it's a challenge, because BTech program we are teaching Java also. We are teaching C, Java, Python, R in BTech program, but not in BSc.
Okay, ma'am.
And Java actually helps you. Java also helps you. Don't see somewhere it's an interdisciplinary and it's an integration. So Java also helps.
Okay, ma'am. So if I'm more towards BSc, like more towards R&D, then should I, do something during the summer vacation before college related to computer programming to prepare myself?
You have just gone to class 12?
Ma'am, I'm in class 12 now. Yeah.
Just focus on NEET and CUET first. Rest everything will follow. Because without CUET, anyhow, things will not work next year.
Okay, ma'am. So I passed KVPY. So now, ICER and ICER is...
So ICER is open for you. So BSc, MSc dual programs are there. Why not go for that? They're the beautiful programs, very well, designed and very reputed. The BSc, MSc dual programs of ICERs. And you can have a direct entry over there. KVPY direct entry is there.
Yes, ma'am. So just focusing on these two exams.
The Bhubaneswar one is doing some very good work. Even Trivandrum work is also good. So you can just, depending upon your location, your preference, you can just look at all the websites. And with KVPY, I think IISc also will take.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So you can try for that dual program also.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Don't miss this opportunity, because you have cleared KVPY, so don't miss on the opportunity of ICER and IISc.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Fantastic. I hope we've been able to answer all of your questions.
There are some questions in the chat box. Simran, we have answered. Then which combination of subjects should we take up in 11th and 12th grade? You can take any. It's an interdisciplinary science, so don't worry. See, very frankly, I am not a biology student. I didn't study biology after class 10. I had a total maths PCM student, chemistry honors, but I have survived, so anybody can survive. Okay, MSc Biotechnology, lot of job roles are there. And there are, of course, there are a lot of jobs which do not involve working in lab at all. So you can be rest assured, a lot of potential and a lot of good paying jobs. If you don't work in the lab, the jobs are better paying if you have a biotech background. Any websites for seeing research papers, just Google or go to PubMed and put in the keywords. PubMed is a very good site from where you can actually download quite a few research papers.
To you watching Career Talks with Mentoria, thank you so much for taking the time out. We hope we've been able to give you a deeper understanding of building a career in biotechnology. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment below and we'll try and answer them on the next webinar of biotechnology, or just visit mentoria.com. If you're unsure about which career you'd like to pursue, head to our career discovery platform and sign up.